if you think it's a technological tool that you can stand up and set and forget, like you're going to, it's like, oh, I tried Facebook ads once. Did you try it? What was your budget?
What did you do?
$10 a day. You didn't try shit.
Welcome to the Land Trust Podcast, where land, technology, and the outdoors meet. Whether you're a landowner, an outdoor enthusiast, or someone curious about the future of recreation on private land, you're in the right place. Each episode, we share real stories from the Land Trust community, from unforgettable guest experiences to conversations with landowners about their land and why they choose to share it, plus interviews with leaders, shaping how we all experience the outdoors. And now, here's your host, Nick DeCastro.
Today's guest is someone who's deeply embedded in the digital outdoor world. Eric Clark is the digital director at Gunpowder PR, where he helps outdoor brands navigate the ever-changing world of paid, social, and affiliate marketing. He's also the co-founder of Okayest Hunter, a creator-led outdoor brand and podcast network that's built a strong following by celebrating the average hunter and flipping the script on what it means to, quote, succeed in the woods. Eric's got a foot in both the corporate and content sides of the outdoor space, and he brings a unique perspective on what it takes to cut through the noise in today's landscape. This episode is part of our Outsides Insiders series, where we sit down with founders, operators, and insiders shaping the future of the outdoor industry. Just a quick note before we dive in, our guest views are their own, and they don't necessarily reflect those of their companies or of Land Trust. Let's get into it. Awesome, Eric. Well, I appreciate you hopping on. I get to return the favor to you. You've had me on your podcast, although yours is much more established and has a bigger audience, but we're just getting this thing going. So I appreciate you coming on.
It's good to see another one enter the fold. Some people think there's too many. I think there can never be too many. So
I agree. Look, as I kind of mentioned in the intro, you've been operating in this space for a while. You've touched quite a few pieces of it. Again, you have your own successful podcast and podcast network now that you're building. So you've been really kind of impactful on the content side. But in your day job, you're also working with Gunpowder, working with a bunch of the big industry brands, helping them do kind of PR affiliate. And then you have also been a founder kind of on the technology side. So, for people listening to kind of this series of Outsides Insiders, I think you're a really interesting person because you've really touched quite a few pieces. So I'd love to hear, maybe just give us a quick background on kind of how you see yourself in the space. And then we talk about Okayest Hunter. We can break down some of these things too.
as far as how I see myself, definitely ingrained deeply on the digital side, heavy social digital. The affiliate undercurrent that runs through all of these things. I like kind of being this behind the curtain middle man, like this broker that helps create win-win-win scenarios for everybody. There's a lot of value in it. And it's really a deep, deep pool of learning that has not ended in 3 years. I continue to learn new things about, contribution margin and how to measure incrementality. And that's really hard to measure in the affiliate category. So that's a whole different nuance than as you'd consider in performance marketing. But my into the hunting realm was when I hired some people from India through a website that was once called Elance that got bought and became Upwork. And I hired a team out of India to build an app, and they were super affordable. So I had some money saved up, and I took my $5,000 of some money I had saved up and built an app and brought it to market on the back of a Facebook page called Where to Hunt that had 10,000 followers. When Facebook was, I wouldn't say it was in its infancy, but you could still post back then and reach people and have engagement.
Yeah, they weren't completely throttling you unless you paid them, every single time you wanted to reach somebody. Yeah.
Their ad platform wasn't there yet. They had I think it was called something dark, or there's this different nuance. It was before Meta Ads Manager was created. It was called something else behind the scenes.
It was not Meta back then. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't even Meta. It was Facebook. So, we got downloads on this thing, up to 10,000 total downloads. It's not obviously akin to active users. And I had revved it. So I took another $7,000, put it back into it. And I think in totality, app dev, design, and marketing and ad spend was probably $20,000 all said and done over the course of a 2 or 3 year period. Got to 70,000 downloads, almost had an acquisition, and it didn't go through, all for the better. I was pretty grateful it didn't. I was just really eager to have an exit and did not look at the red flags along the way until it was like the last
Been
one. I was
there.
like, okay,
Yep.
we're gonna pull out of this. This isn't good. Lots of learnings out of that. It had forced me to do some things that I like hadn't done, like learn about EBITDA and like active. I had to go through all these things. It was crazy, and it kind of matured me a little bit on the business side of things. I then joined an incubator when I decided we weren't going to sell, and I tried to go like, let's go all in and let's see what happens. We got funding from the state of Wisconsin through that incubator. We got 10 grand from the state of Wisconsin as a grant. So decided to deprecate all of the India-based code because it was antiquated. It was like AWS buckets, if you are familiar.
Semi. Yeah. I'm not technical, but I am, I can understand some of the lingo. Yeah.
Yeah, like we hit a user capacity thing, and if we had more users in that bucket allotted for, then it would just break. Because if you think about like putting water in a literal bucket and it was
Right.
overflowing,
Yeah.
there was nowhere for those new users to use the infrastructure. So you'd have to scale up, but to scale up, you'd have to buy the next tier of bucket, which was like astronomically expensive, but you might not use all of it. And being a seasonal business or like product, it would
Yeah.
peak really high, and then you'd have to like go scale up. It was a total stupid thing. So we went not serverless, but something like that, and rebuilt the infrastructure from the ground up with a DevOps engineer here in Wisconsin, and rebranded it to Outland with hopes to go broader market and not just to hunt, which has now actually changed. We're kind of coming back in. Needless to say, the app is supposed to be coming back to market sooner than later with a slight twist, but it's a one-trick pony. It was meant to identify occupied, non-occupied hunting access. And the addition to the new model is a heat map with those data points that help inform e-scouting to a degree, whether historical or real-time.
So how to avoid the crowds on public land, so to say.
Yeah, I
Is that a good
wanted
way
it
to
to
say
be a
it?
relief valve to the crowding that exists on public hunting. I think you and your platform are that to a degree, where like this is too crowded. I want to find a different solution, but I don't know how it will actually work. I actually have no clue other than when I launched it, people were like, no one's going to use a cell phone in the woods. That's how early it was. Versus now it's like, I think there could be a need here. And, much like Waze was bought by
Yeah.
Google and you can report a police car, an accident, and it'll ask you to confirm those things. We want to be able to do that with like, I want to report a cell cam or confirm if it's still there and have those be ancillary, secondary, tertiary heat points on the map to indicate secondary points of hunting pressure. So we'll see. It'll come to market. It's very close, honestly. We're actually to the point now where we have to go through the Meta and the auth stuff, like so you can log in with Meta or Google. That's where we're
Gotcha.
at right
Yep.
now, which I think is,
Nice.
I don't want to say it's easy because I'm not doing the dev op on that or the coding, but it feels
That's what
like,
I've learned is engineers really love when you say this is easy. That should be
yeah.
easy.
Yeah. I think it should be because it's done so much, but what do I know? So until it's live, I don't have a dog in the fight because it's like I'm a marketer and there's nothing to market right now. So I
Right.
don't like talking about it much because there's nothing there. So it's interesting.
Too soon. But honestly, man, like again, you've been kind of in the technology side for quite a while. Successfully launching an app, having some, success there, running into hiccups and re-going at it. So I mean, it's good. This is real life. Not everyone, almost nobody gets to launch an app and it takes off and stays on a up and to the right trajectory from day one. It's just really rare.
That's how it's supposed to work. I'm glad we got market validation and we either had some hate or some love, and it was good because it wasn't lukewarm. But it's like, I think entrepreneurs can skew the rearview mirror story to be like,
Yeah, totally.
and to the new narrative. And there's just no way it ever always goes that way. Like you can piece that story together. Hindsight's 2020 and make it sound like you had planned for that or you had anticipated this or you saw that coming or you saw around this corner. Maybe, but
Probably not.
Probably not. And there's not a lot
Probably
of
not.
like places to have that honest dialogue. So this is a neat concept. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Okay, so that's your kind of story on where to hunt, what it was formerly known as, and what will soon be Outland. Correct?
Yep.
So talk to me about, this kind of series is really for, I think probably a lot of people are going to be more insiders, people working in the industry listening to this. So let's talk about day job stuff. I want to talk about Okayest Hunter too, because we're launching this new podcast. You've been doing it a long time. You're building more shows. So I selfishly want some insights there. But let's talk about your day job. So you're running kind of all the affiliate programs for Gunpowder, correct?
Yeah, I have, oddly enough, I started on the side. Of course, I did, with clients that I had been engaged with through the podcast because I've had strong relationships. And I was like, look, I'm learning about this affiliate stuff at work. I would be able to accelerate that learnings if I had a account to work on rather than just read because I believe in being a practitioner.
Yeah.
So I was like, look, I'm going to charge you, but I don't need to charge you agency pricing. And obviously, I don't think you could afford the agency anyways. No offense or anything like that. It's just is what
No,
it
it's
is.
just, yeah,
So I got a small contract, monthly contract or retainer to start doing work in the hunt industry for a very endemic archery based brand, and started to cut my teeth. And then I started to work with a couple others through word of mouth. I don't have a website. I've never marketed this. I don't go out in public talking about it per se, just because I don't want to have some sort of major conflict, even though I'm playing in a much smaller space. Um, I don't think there is a conflict. I'm aware of where conflicts could be, and therefore I navigate them and like
sure, of
approach
course.
differently.
Yeah.
So that kind of got me to cut my teeth in the affiliate side, and that experience is what helped me build out the Gunpowder division of this work. Now, Gunpowder's team is just everyone there is incredibly hardworking. I would say smart, and that's true. But there's this drive to push yourself. So like everyone there is such a high achiever. They have such a strong pedigree of like doing good work for sake of good work. And there's not much that that team can't take on and deliver at a really like high level. So bringing the team into the affiliate side accelerated things really fast. Some of the guys on my actual team are like taking off in a way that I'm so proud of them because I'm like, it's like when you join a book club and you read a book and you're like, finally, I can talk to someone about this book and we can dissect it. And
Yeah.
like, I'm not just in a vacuum by myself anymore. Like, what did you learn when you went out to this market? Oh, you saw that too? Okay, great. Let's like combine. So that has been really rewarding intrinsically and just from the company standpoint. So we've been able to work on some, like you said, big accounts, like more corporate larger industry accounts. And it's wild. And getting creative and clever and thoughtful and how to use these tactics and align them with PR and align them with influencer. There's all these like knobs and dials and levers you can pull and turn. And we measure everything. So we're very data driven. We use BI dashboards, business intelligence dashboards to like identify things. And it's been super exciting. Like the insider nature of it is fascinating because 3 years ago, if you would have asked me what commerce content or affiliate was, I literally would have had no idea. Now you can't not see it as someone who makes a sausage. Like you go to
Oh, yeah.
fieldandstream.com or Outdoor Life in the bottom of their footer. It's like everything here is an affiliate link. Um, it's a bit of an arbitrage, really, but it's because when COVID happened, I mean, affiliate's been around for like 20 plus years. It's not a
Oh,
new
yeah.
thing. And it's a bit of a dirty word because when it came to market, it was not like this thing that people really liked. COVID happened and a traditional print pub lost the revenue of like a full or a 2-page ad because no one's going into stores to buy magazines. So they had to kind of like lift up a new revenue stream. So affiliate got a lot of gas on the flame through the COVID years. And now it's become an instrumental revenue driver for a lot of these legacy pubs. Now, some brands have been built on the back of affiliate from the get, and those ones are really sophisticated. They don't even need ad dollars for like media buys.
Yeah.
They can just crank on doing their own content. And I admire that because then they're not swayed by the dollars of the industry as much. That's not entirely true because based on what they publish and put out will earn or not earn them money. So
Correct. Yeah.
it's just, they're a little bit more self-reliant on themselves. That's all. So it's it's a world that I like to play in and I get pretty deep in and I like all the tactics and things that go into it. And we also do performance marketing, paid, digital, paid social. We do organic social strategy, content strategy, working with a lot of content creators, a lot of influencers. You get to know people behind the scenes pretty well. We're doing content shoots, going over the country with people with
Yeah.
cameras and making commercials and all that stuff. So it really is in the industry and it's a dream job. I'm very happy to be where I'm at.
That's great, man. So there's a couple threads in there. I don't know if you saw Andrew Chen, the A16Z investor, wrote an article or Substack, I don't know, 2 weeks ago maybe. And I think it was titled something like every marketing channel is shitty right now. And he kind of goes through, I'll send it to you after this, but he goes through all of it and just talks about why they're kind of blown out and saturated. And we see this, you talked about early days Facebook, and before I started Land Trust, I worked about a decade in the advertising and marketing technology space, specifically around like YouTube. I was really early in YouTube,
Okay.
helping brands kind of reach audiences there. I personally sold Microsoft, GM, and Adobe their first YouTube influencer campaigns. I think it was like 2011 or something, 2012. They were terrified. They're like, no. I promise it'll work out. And now obviously it's par for the course. But what do you think? What do you think the value of influencer marketing, or if that's even the in vogue way to say it today? It used to just be called influencer marketing. Maybe it's not called that anymore. But some people use the term influencer marketing and affiliates interchangeably, and maybe I'd like to get your perspective on that.
Yeah.
But then, how are you seeing it? Do you still see the performances there? Again, like I'm running Land Trust, and we've engaged with influencers, so to speak, and we've had varying degrees of success. Nothing, not against the people or businesses that we've worked with, but something that I've noticed as an operator is you really need to manage these things. Like, it's not just like, cool, you get big name, 100,000 million follower guy to say your name and talk about you sometimes and like blows the doors off the business. Like, it doesn't work like that. At least we haven't seen it work like that. And I will caveat this in that we are quite a different product, so to speak, because we're a two-sided marketplace. Like, we sell experiences. So I don't have a manufactured good that I can like send to an influencer to test and show and everything. Like, no, we're an experiences business. So we are a little bit different, but I'd be curious to kind of like pull the thread on that with you, because you're doing it every day. Like, what do you think about affiliate when people say affiliate versus influencers? And do you think influencers are still producing the way they used to maybe?
Good questions. I remember talking to a client. They didn't understand the difference between a content creator and an influencer. And I was like, square versus rectangle. One can be both. One cannot be the other.
Right.
An influencer can be a content provider and have influence and drive conversion. They're the square.
Content plus distribution. Yeah.
Yeah. The creator is they're just giving you content behind the scenes. They don't have a large following. They're not of influence.
They're a great photographer or videographer, but they have like 1,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah. And I actually value them, not maybe more, but I use those guys a lot for ad content creative, because I can get content from different corners of the country for a pretty affordable price. And it helps a lot. So there's that piece. Influencer and affiliate, definitely not the same thing. Influencer is a part of the mix of type of affiliates. Like, people don't realize like kayak.com is an affiliate for the travel industry. And it's anyone really with eyes and ears and attention. You could be anybody with not anybody. Any of these types of things can be an affiliate. If you have an audience and a following or some sort of way to like garner attention, whether it be a blog, which are, believe it or not, in 2025 are still lucrative and relevant. I had an influencer the other day with only 2,000 Instagram followers crush for a product launch for a brand, above and beyond even like the Field and Streams of the world. It's like
interesting,
they because their audience was so core to the endemic nature of what was being done, and they posted 4 stories of product launch with link in each one of them, affiliate link, and they converted to a great AOV. So you can have blogs, social people. Social actually tends to not perform that great when you consider affiliate. I feel bad for them, because brands get hopped up on the idea that, ooh, we can pay them with an affiliate link and forget the contract. And I'm like, yeah, not really, because some are better than others at it. Everyone has their strength. And if they haven't built the muscle and used the proper tools to go to market that way, someone who's really good at affiliate as a YouTuber and social media person is Aaron Olson, who runs Next Step Outdoors. But that's all he does. He's full-time in it. And he's taken the care and time to build out his gear list, not just like some one-off broad link going to a PDP or the homepage. It's like, here's my pack and here's everything in it. And everything in it has an affiliate link that goes to that PDP. So if I'm watching that YouTube video where he's dumping the pack out, I might want the 1 or 2 things in there, not the whole one, like the pack. there's also ways to use products that if you DM me this word, I'm going to send you this. That's an automation. There's a tool that does a
Right.
software tool that does that, and it will spit out that product page with all of those links. So you're really just trying to spoon feed the consumer to get them to the very, very bottom of the funnel and make it as easy as possible to purchase. Now, none of this includes Amazon, which is a whole different beast in and of itself, and that's going to go through some big changes. But the affiliate space, going back to, I think about it as a pie in my brain, because the dashboards I look at will show me the slivers of types of affiliates, and a good affiliate
Right.
program will have all of these things, and nothing will be overly weighted in terms of the categorical type of affiliate. So you have blog, podcast, YouTube, social, publication, i.e. content, which is also blog. Then you have your cashback, loyalty, coupon, deal, offer ones as well. And some of those get bad raps, but they're great customer acquisition tools if you can control them properly.
And retain the customer. Like if you have a product where you have
Yeah.
high retention and repeat orders and that kind of stuff.
And it depends on when you're measuring LTV, like lifetime customer value. If you're measuring that at 6, 9, whatever, a year and a half, like you have to measure it to know if it's actually worth it or not. So yeah, there's all these different types, and influencer is a type of affiliate. They're not interchangeable, and oftentimes people think of affiliate pairing with influencers this one-to-one. Like they just stand up affiliate so then they can work with an influencer, and the influencer is going to put out a code, and they're like, this guy never generated any business. Okay.
I've been there.
Yeah, and that's common, and it's very common, and it's not their. I wouldn't say it's their fault. It's never lack of effort. It's like lack of their ability to act. They don't understand affiliate marketing. They're not doing it right. So there's a company called Rockporch. They're considered a sub-affiliate network, which is another type of affiliate, like Skimlinks, which is a terrible name, but they're one of the best ones out there. That has a stable of influencers that are trained and coached, and like they learn the proper way to affiliate market. So their stable of influencers are really good at the needle better than most. They're still gonna have their weaknesses, but like if I go to them, I'm getting in at a much higher aptitude than I am just going to some Johnny off the street.
It's almost like it's almost like real estate. You can take your realtor license and become a realtor and never sell anything. Or you could be like a really professionalized realtor who has this whole game playbook. Because an affiliate is a salesperson. It's
that's it. They're decentralized. It's a decentralized sales force,
sales team. Yeah. So, and I was a sales guy before, and it was always this like really sexy idea of like, ooh, let's go find a channel and get channel sales. But it's really hard to motivate and train somebody else's sales force. And this is kind of the same thing. It makes a lot of sense in your brain, and you just want to say like, hey, go sell our stuff for us, but not give them like the deck sales training, like how to like, the common objections and all these other things. It's like, oh no, you have a big following and you should like our stuff. Here you go. And then here's a link. Like,
here's product. It's like, okay, I gave you product once. I said, here's a link. And then like, oh, nothing happened. Shocker. You have to spoon feed these people often and be the squeaky wheel. So like affiliate management involves a lot of things. Most of it's the relationship stuff and just staying in touch with people, making sure they have the assets that they need, making sure they're aware of product drops, seasonal offers, seasonal themes. Like you have to be with them through this stuff. And if you think it's a technological tool that you can stand up and set and forget, like you're going to, it's like, oh, I tried Facebook ads once. Did you try it? What was your budget?
What did you do?
$10 a day. You didn't try shit. Like, excuse my language.
No,
That's
true. No, it's
try,
Look, we did. I mean, I could speak directly to this. We messed around with affiliate, and I say messed around because we didn't do it correctly. We set up what is the platform we used?
You use Impact.
Impact. $900 a month platform fee. First of all,
they're expensive. Yeah, more expensive
fuck yourself.
Than
I mean, it's expensive, and we experienced this where, we worked with a couple bigger people, and I love them. One really big in the archery space, one of the best, and we didn't do our job. Anytime we asked him for stuff and gave him direction, it was like instant turnaround and like gave it to us. It was cool. But we didn't manage it correctly. We didn't give him the tools. We didn't plan. We didn't ask him for things. We didn't say, hey, here's Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and here are the pieces of content we want. Here's a, campaign, all that stuff, right? So it was just kind of like, hey, you got a big following. People love you. You like what we do, which is important too. I'm a big believer that don't just like pay some brand whore to like hold your thing on, Instagram. No, like actually we never worked with anybody unless they actually used our product and, actually believed in it. If you don't like us, that's fine. Like we're not for everybody. Um, but yeah, we did that and it didn't work. So with a kind of a bigger influencer, so to speak, and then we went to, the platform and it just didn't work because I know it's because
Your
we didn't
product
do
is also particularly challenging. So like,
totally.
I don't even know. So that what I've learned, there's three things that if you have two of three things that you can check the box on, it's probably going to work out. If you have one or zero, it's not going to. And here's a great example. I worked with a company that makes leather bound, incredibly strong industrial magnets for holding your firearm.
Nice.
Really cool product. Really great brand.
Yeah, I love that.
Great owner. Really love what they're doing. Here's the three things. You either have to have some brand recognition. You have to have a notable brand to some degree. Like people need to recognize your brand, and I'll explain why. You have to have product diversity insofar as what I mean by that, and I might be saying it wrong, which I have to explain, is you have to have more than one product and also be able to work across several categories. So this particular product didn't have brand recognition. And when I'm an affiliate in like AvantLink or Impact, if I will recognize Gerber gear, I will recognize certain brands. I have a Gerber sign right in my podcast studio. So I will recognize Bear Archery. I will recognize these brands as someone in the industry. Of new brand that I've never heard of. It's not even registering. Like I'll just go right past it. It's like going through the yellow pages back in the day when you were a kid and like you'd see Pizza Hut, but not Joe's Pizza because Pizza Hut commercials are on TV everywhere. Like you don't know Joe's Pizza.
Yeah.
There's no context. The other part, if it's a single product and I pitch to Field and Stream or Outdoor Life or anybody else in blog or YouTube or so forth, like, hey, Cliff Gray, can you do a review on this product? Great, thanks. Even if he does it, he did it. It goes well. We got a little like blurb, a little like influx. I can't go back to him because he already
with the same
did it.
product. Yeah.
Like, unless he comes up with a new angle, it's not going to happen again. If it was a comprehensive video, he probably hit all the angles. So now I get a lot of one and dones. And so I don't have a lot of like meat on the bone. And then third, if I can't pitch, so that product only worked for two-way. Like, it's not like I could hang my garden tools from it. It wasn't really developed. Maybe you could. Like, maybe there's an adjacency there, but I should be able to go to hunt, fish, camp, hike, bike. You have to be able to spread across a couple different categories, or you're just going to like run out of oxygen. You're going to hit the whole demographic and then you're going to be done. Like, that's it.
Right.
Until you get the next year's gift buy and they do another, listicle or gift guide. So if you don't have all that stuff going for you, it's going to be really challenging. I'm not saying it won't work, but boy, oh boy, you got the deck stacked against you. And so for me now, I'm really only taking on clients on the side that I can slam dunk because I don't want to go through that process. And I don't want to set good expectations. On the gunpowder side, the brand thing is almost always a fit. It's like the brands gunpowder works with are like the ones, you know?
They're the big ones, yeah.
And they have all sorts of categories and they have all sorts of products. So like, those are great. They're very fruitful. And they just require a lot of work because there's a lot of relationships to maintain. And like, there's always a product launch coming on. We got to like lock arms and do a commission stipend. And there's all these tactics that we do to make sure it's like going to be covered on launch day, yada, yada, yada. The other thing you mentioned, like having a good influencer or a notable one, it does make a difference. On the Okayest Hunter side, we launched we made a sweatshirt last year that said hunting season survivor because we wanted to speak to the other side of the demographic, which is all of our wives.
Yeah, seriously.
And my wife kind of came up with the idea, and I was like, "Well, let's just try it. Let's do a very comfy shirt, a very comfy like non-hooded sweatshirt, a crew neck." We launched it or whatever, and it was actually doing pretty good. Like on its own terms, it was like cranking.
Yeah.
Then Dan and Sam Matthews, who go by the handle "We Are Dan and Sam," she's a surrogate. She got her kind of claim to influencer fame through her surrogacy journey.
Oh, wow.
And then Dan's an actual hunter. They're from Wisconsin. So like, it was kind of cool. Well, I've been chummied up with those guys for a few years now. I talk to Dan frequently. I'm like, dude, I'm going to just send you this stuff. Like, and I had no expectation. I
have your wife wear it and take a,
you guys should have this. I didn't include any affiliate links. So I offered like, if you guys want to do that, you can. They didn't, but I didn't know I didn't expect him to do anything with it. I was just trying to like be nice in
Yeah.
hope that, of course, it'd be great if they did something. But I have learned to not have expectations because like that would just be a letdown. And give without like I like to give rather than like expect something in return. So nonetheless, I'm at
Totally.
gymnastics with my daughter, and my phone is on, like my ringer's on. It's like ching, 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 ching. I'm like, what the, what's going on right now? I pull out my phone and it's like all these orders, and I'm like, what happened? Did an ad pop off? Like, what's going on? No, Sam did an unboxing of it, and like they
Love
got. I'm not kidding. I think inside of like the next 12 hours, we probably sold, I think it was like 10 grand worth of sweatshirts because of that post
Wow.
or some. It was so like, yeah, the right influencer really can crank,
Just a vein of gold. Yep.
but that's it. Then like, I'm not going back to them. Like I'm not
Right.
working with them consistently. There's
Right.
no like, so the bigger zoom out and the more holistic approach here is you ought to be creating some sort of movement in the marketplace. So like your question about the value of an influencer is, well, how can you ladder it up to and align it with getting coverage in publications, running an ad campaign that looks and feels like it's pulling from the same rope. Your email blast is on the same day. Influencers are talking about it. We did this with Field and Stream. We launched their spring catalog or their spring journal last year when they came back to print. We helped them with that. I had a big part on that team, and we called it opening day. They wanted it to be like, for lack of better terms, Nudie Magazine Day from Billy Madison.
Nice.
But
Yeah,
not,
I love it.
you know, that. And so we came
Yeah.
up with opening day and we did this campaign, and everybody moved at the same time. So like suddenly as a
It was
consumer,
a
like,
wave. Yeah.
I see it on my scroll. I see it in affiliate because like there's banner ads on blog sites. I'm seeing it on ads when I'm in Marketplace on Meta or Facebook because there's an ad. All the influencers that I happen to see are talking about it. It's on this podcast. Shit, you can't get away from it. That's a well-formed plan
Orchestrated. Yeah.
that you strike at the same time. And so these things, these channels should just be part of your overall strategy. Affiliate is not a breakout channel. It's an incremental channel. It will not, it can happen and it does, but it's lightning in a bottle. It's not something I could promise or ever guarantee I could create, but it
People win the lottery too, but it's not a strategy,
Yeah.
you know, like, yeah.
We got coverage for a client that hit on CNN underscore, and they like held it there for a long time, and they had like a year of incredible sales from just that article. It was
That's incredible.
stupid good. And it wouldn't have happened if they weren't doing affiliate. That's how we got it. And
Right.
that hub, CNN, was getting a 20% commission to hold that spot. So it was lucrative for them and it was crushing. So they kept it up and we kept making sales. It was like this beautiful thing. And we're like, what the hell's happening? You know, it was another
You
thing.
tell the
Like,
client that's exactly how we planned it.
yeah. Well, I was like, actually, next year when we look at January, you're not going to see this giant blip, and I want you to remember this day when you come to look at a report year over year, and we ask the question, why is January down year over year? That's going to be why. Like this is
That's
actually going to
why.
hurt us
Yeah.
more than it's going to feel good a year from now. So yeah, that's like it all has to work together, and it has to be managed, and you have to have these relationships, and it's a freaking pain in the ass, man. Influencers
It's a lot of work.
they're not 9-to-5ers. You got to text them, talk to them. They're out doing this. They're hard to reach. They're awkward to
They don't
communicate with.
email.
Yeah, like and that's all fine. But brands don't, like the 9-to-5er corporate intern dude at giant company ABC doesn't work that way.
No.
Like it's just, and then they want to measure it. Where's the ROI? Brandon, where's the ROI? It's like, that's the wrong question. I worked with a guy, worked with a relative term, who sent Okayest Hunter a canoe and a kayak. And all he said was, just use it. You don't have to say anything. There's no official partnership. I'm just sending you the stuff. It was like $6 grand worth of
Jeez.
watercraft that pulled up on a semi in front of my house. And guess what? That kayak and canoe have been in most of the videos and content we put out. And
That's
I've
cool.
never said a damn word about it intentionally. And so where's the ROI there? And it goes back to an old Gary Vee quote that I love where it's like, what's the ROI of your mom's smile? Like, can you measure that? Bet you it's pretty good, but like there's not a like UTM to measure that.
Yeah, totally. Interesting. How I can talk about something we're seeing right now, and I've seen some other folks in the industry talking about it as well. So we spent probably 2 summers ago, we really invested in programmatic SEO. And so for the folks out there, it's not SEO like how to bake a great chocolate chip cookie. That was like V1 of SEO. You write this evergreen content, it indexes, then you stuff it full of links and all that kind of stuff. Programmatic SEO being, if someone searches for, white-tailed deer hunting in Montana, that Land Trust shows up, number one in Google, right? And when they click on that, it looks like Land Trust homepage, but it's about white-tailed deer hunting and hunts and packages in Montana. So, working on these strategies is not an overnight thing. You're building this thing. It's like an annuity. So, now almost 2 years later, SEO drives the business. We don't spend any money on advertising anymore. We haven't spent money on advertising since October. And we used to spend a lot of money on acquisition, relatively speaking. Okay. So we're not a huge company.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking, we spend a lot of money.
Right.
Yeah. However, recently, with AI and the LLMs, ChatGPT and Perplexity and all this stuff, it's been really interesting in Google rolling out AI overlays and stuff like that. Our impressions are like crushing right now, like just going, hyperbolic, but clicks aren't tracking. And so I'm curious how you think from an affiliate perspective, or like, the guys like a Field and Stream or whatnot, the publishers are going to do with the rise in the answer engines being ChatGPT, Perplexity, et cetera. And, the other thing I would say is people have been saying SEO is dead for a long time for a lot of different reasons, through a lot of different fads. SEO is still doing all right. And if you ask the ChatGPT, if you ask the LLMs if they use search engines to yeah, we use search engines. So SEO is still very important. So like we're seeing our Land Trust being injected and pulled from into all the answer engines as well. But like, how do you think chat and the others are going to change or shift the space?
That is a question right now that I have. I have the same question because it's not abundantly clear because they're serving up the answers. So the need to click into something is kind of like, you kind of don't, depending on what you're after. If you're after a purchase or an experience, I think branding is going to help a lot. Like I chose Airbnb over Vrbo because I'm seeing more of their commercials is more top of mind. And I just went right to Airbnb and booked for that experience. And candidly, Airbnb's experience is actually a lot better than Vrbo's. It was like a much more delightful process. They actually had better properties. I was like, better for what I was looking for, at least in the areas I was looking for. Branding's got to be a big part of it. Much like when we were going through the audio craze of Alexa's in the house and Siri's, and I don't want to say too loud, activate, but Kleenex is the brand. Like I want to get Tide. It's like I remember when those buttons came out that you would put on something that would link to your Amazon, and people are getting like Tide buttons to put on their washing machine. So just order it when you'd run out. That is like a branding play that supersedes. It's shortcutting the search engine altogether. It's just, there is no search engine when I can just get the frickin' product or have the experience. So I think my general answer is brand is going to be the most helpful thing you can do. What you're talking about on the SEO side, it's like someone that doesn't know your brand exists and is trying to find a solution to their problem or find something, whatever that is. That's different. And the LLMs are going to have a like schema markup is something that I continue to hear about. A friend of mine who's much deeper in the SEO realm than I was. I grew up in SEO in my career. That's what I did. I am so distant from where it is now. I am actually sad about it. But he's like feeding the LLMs particular information so they understand, have a complete picture of their brand. So when the LLM gets searched, their brand is showing up as number one inside the LLM.
Yes.
How to go do that? Like he's running queries through SEMrush, through Ahrefs or whatever, and finding those blank spaces and telling it what it is. How he's doing that, I have literally no idea what that
the dark arts
looks like.
SEO has always been dark arts. It's like black magic.
But he's like literally doing some sort of work. I just don't know what the hell it is or how he does it, but it's existing and there's a genuine impact and it's measurable. But that's, I think, probably more the direction of like, you're just going to go. And also ChatGPT is like teaching people stuff. It's like I was searching for some mortgage stuff the other day and I was like, explain.
I use it all the time, every day.
I don't want to have to talk to a person. If I can just have this thing explain it to me and I can absorb it at my own pace. I don't have time to be on the phone. I have 3 kids. Like I can't have a phone conversation in my house. It doesn't work.
Yeah, totally. What's interesting is, like I said, we're seeing the impressions kind of like go parabolic and the clicks aren't tracking, but then we're seeing a corresponding pretty big jump in branded search.
Yeah.
So it's like
Okay.
almost like so I don't know. I mean, look, we're in the middle of it right now. I've never seen anything progress at the rate AI is progressing, and like every week there are new things that you got to go
The
learn.
image stuff
So I
was
didn't.
colossal a couple weeks back. That was like, I
Yeah.
mean, like wild.
Yes. Yeah.
There's gonna be a
So
lot of displacement in the market.
what tactics? Let's talk hunting specifically because hunting really is its own. Its own thing. What tactics, for reference setting, and I've had actually some other kind of marketing and acquisition marketing folks on this as well. So, but just to reframe, like hunting brands and hunting products and hunting oriented companies have a hell of a time trying to market online. The last 4 to 6 years has been really bad. Where I mean, you can't show anything, all your content gets flagged, you can't spend all that stuff, right? Um, so like I mean, are there tactics that you think have just kind of fallen off from a performance perspective that maybe just are irrelevant today that used to work?
Uh, I think you just have to get, I don't want to say more creative, but you gotta like get outside the box for sure. Whatever our thought bubble you have, I try to get 2 to 3 thought bubbles away from that first one and like try to attack it there because you're gonna have a better chance. I mean, we just had to get ads through Google Ad Manager that it was like having issues with, and 3 tries later we got it, and it's like you got to water it down a bunch, and then
Yeah.
then it's like, well, the creative's not as strong because it's not speaking to the demographic as it should. Then it begs the question: is it worth it if it's so watered down? We're not going to get the message
Right.
across. I hear what you're saying, but there are other ways. Like you can do text based ads can crush if you can do it right. Like if you make it look like a thread post that's screenshot and a customer review is commenting on something, like you can thread the needle there pretty well and actually still have an impact. And if you just study some ads that are grabbing your attention, like you could probably find a way to do that for you. Hunting brands have it worse, although the reins have been loosened. And I think it's because of the current administration and
Yep.
Meta pandering to whatever who has
There
their
was a vibe shift for sure.
yeah,
Vibe shift.
they protect their own core, and they're always going to pander to whoever's in office. So like if it's a
Yep.
Democratic president, it's watch it change again. It's going to happen because like they're playing to be around forever.
Yep.
They're not going to get squashed by a current admin. And so with that, I've seen some of that stuff get loosened up, and so now it's kind of like, well, you might want to jump back in there because you might make a little hay while the sun is shining, and it might not
Totally.
always be that way. So ride the waves. I love first mover advantage on new platforms. When TikTok launched, people were like, and people that were running companies were like, I hate TikTok. I'll never go on it because
That was me, dude.
and I was like, yeah, you might have been. And maybe I talked to you about this. So I was like,
Yeah.
you need to jettison that and get on there. Well, the getting is good because you're a business that operates with cash. And like you can go make cash there right now. And you just can, and it worked. That does not work now. Like the wave is done. It's
Right.
gone.
All that it's like a new it's like the opening of a new market. All the profit is taken off the table in that first part of the market, and then it just commoditizes and competes down to like no profit.
Yeah.
And honestly, the TikTok thing, the biggest, I can speak as an operator, the biggest challenge we've had is content. So, TikTok is a hungry beast for video, and we never had the capability. I mean, it was one of those things, and funny enough, and I think we use this to transition to kind of Okayest Hunter and podcasting generally, because you've been doing it for a while. We backed our way into this podcast and starting to produce this. One, AI tooling has made it like,
it's so
we've
much
wanted
better.
to do a podcast for like freaking 2 or 3 years, 4 years. I don't know, a long time. But it was always like, holy shit, we're going to have to go and hire somebody to do this and X and Y and Z. And like, I spun this thing up in 2 days, each podcast format, set up custom GPTs that generate the podcast for us, all that stuff. And then we hired like a really good kind of post-production guy to kind of make it all nice. We backed our way into the podcast by just saying, now with AI and like Substack has, podcasting, and you can just record videos and it'll automatically cut up clips for social. So we just said, let's make more content. We need video to feed the social beasts because that's what the algorithms like. They want video. So let's just start doing that. So we just all started recording video around the team about different topics. I'm like, well, shit, we're already doing kind of the hard work of, like getting things scheduled and like thinking about topics, all this stuff. Like, we're basically doing a podcast. Why not just do the podcast, you know? And so
Why not
I
just the
came at
output?
it.
Because yeah, someone will probably listen more than they'd watch, and like you have to accommodate.
Yeah, and like, so I came at the podcast not from like I want to build a podcast and have a media business. Like, if that happens, cool. I mean, that'd be a great kind of like side effect. I did it because I need content to help convert and grow upper funnel. So like, I have a core business, you know, Land Trust, and we look at this video content in the podcast, not these episodes per se, but like some of the ones going over 5-star experiences and talking with the landowners. Like, it's just good bottom funnel content. Like, if you're on a listing and you can listen to a 10-minute podcast of that landowner talking about their property and see photos of it and hear other people's experience on it, like that'd probably help you convert, right? And then you can clip those things up and you can push them out. And it's just like this content engine. That's why I look at a podcast as. Now, if we grow our audience and we can get sponsors, awesome. That'd be super cool, but it's not the point. So that's how we got ourselves here. But I'm curious, and we also get to like, you know, we have a pretty sizable email list, not like monstrous, but you know, we have a customer base already. We've been around for almost 6 years. So we can like instantly launch it to lots of people. Whereas, you know, if you're just starting a podcast with your buddy next door, you have no audience. My question to you is, you know, now that you've been doing Okayest Hunter and you're starting to release other podcasts and kind of building a network, like what have you found to be effective in the hunting space? Granted, we're not like a hunting podcast. I'm not sitting here like, so there I was and there's this big buck and I shot him. You know, like it's just, first of all, I'm not that great of a hunter. I don't really have much to add. There's a lot of very excellent hunters out there who can tell you way better things than I can. But you know, we are in the outdoor space and there will be people telling about their cool hunting or fishing or camping experience with their kids or whatever. But I guess like, what have you seen to be effective when, you know, setting these things up, getting a podcast going, growing it, nurturing it, all that stuff?
It's just, I've compared us to book authors, and that's probably not a great comparison because like I've never written a book, and I'm thinking author probably fit my face if they tried to say that we were comparing ourselves. But at some point, you have to turn into a marketer. Like the book's not going to sell itself. So
right.
That, you know, you're actually on podcasts and you're at book signings and you're trying to like do all these posts. Check out my book. Check everything's like back to the book. And the podcast realm, at some point, you're like, check out my podcast, and you're trying to get into all these places. You're guessing on other podcasts to talk about your podcast. It's like everyone just starts to become this marketing engine. They're like, what am I doing? And I have asked we have 14 shows on our network. I've asked all of our hosts as they've come to us. I've had to level set around expectations and what they want out of it. Because if what they want out of it is to like quit their day job, it's like, it's not going to happen. And I'm not going to say it can happen, but like, boy, oh boy, you're going to be like the less than the 1%. So let's have realistic expectations around what it is you want out of this. Is it content? Is it just you really genuinely want to have good conversations? Do you want to grow your network? I've gotten more out of what I would call ROR, return on relationship, from podcasting than anything else. That's how you and I had crossed paths. And I've opened a lot of doors through this modality or this channel. Growth for the network has been very different than growth for any single show. I've looked around the space. Like I used to be on the Waypoint Network at some point. I'm aware of the Meat Eater Network. Sports and Empire is another network owned by Dan Johnson. Good guy. Actually just had a podcast with him the other day, or other week. And so are we competing? Maybe not. Just depends on how you look at things. But I know how he does his model. I know how Waypoint does theirs. I have an idea of how Meat Eater does theirs. I wanted to do something different, which is how I tend to think about things. Different, not better, which is why we have the Okayest Hunter. It's like the anti-brand of the hunting industry to some degree. We're a counterculture brand at least. And, you know, not to say we don't like the industry. It's just like, we're just going to go the other direction because like I'm not going to stand out enough if I just fit in with a crowd. And I'm not an expert hunter like yourself. So like I would be a poser. But the network has grown. Every podcast has started from ground zero, like yours is right now.
Yeah.
And some of the others have shortcutted that process by just bringing on existing shows that already have a listener base. That's a fine way to go about it. I didn't want to do that because I wanted everyone to pull from the same rope, from a brand, tone of voice, their go-to-market message, how they speak, and really the hosts imbue and embody the tenets of the brand to a pretty hardcore degree. Like these people that are part of this platform or this network are really, they get it. Then they had to kind of sell me on their ability that they got it. And if they didn't strike the chord right, I've not brought in some folks on because I was like kind of concerned that you're not really, I don't think you really understand what we're doing here, or how we talk, or the purpose of it. And you can go talk whatever the hell it is in your field of expertise. Like we have a trapping podcast, a fishing podcast. We have all these different types of cooking podcasts and so forth. Then there's the network effect. So literally the tech on the back end, they're all coupled together in Spotify and in iTunes or Apple Podcasts. So if you listen to one, it's going to recommend the podcast on the network in a bar above any other podcast that's not a network. So if you go listen to a podcast, you might like these other ones that are similar too.
Right.
So that's happening. It's just serving up our podcast before it serves up the other ones. So there's a little bit of growth there. Plus there's the network effect of the people that we're all coupled together with on this thing. Like some of these people are really like accomplished people in the realm outside of podcasting. Zach Hansen's one I'll speak to a little bit. He wrote the book Turning Feral. He worked in AI and sold a company and like was featured in TechCrunch in another life of his. Yeah. He is just he does like, I don't know, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he does all these. He's like a really well-networked guy. I think he's done speaking engagements next to Cam Haines, and he's also the most humble guy in the world and won't ever tell you any of those things. You have to just learn it. And so knowing that I get to talk to him and like spar and sharpen myself with him, and that's happening at a network level with all of the hosts in a group chat that we hold. And it's an active, vibrant group chat, and it's a community, and we promote and help each other in and out of our other walks of life, has allowed some of these shows to grow at a rate that they wouldn't have otherwise grown on their own.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of a snowball. So now that the snowball's gotten bigger, it's getting easier as we go. So if we just run over another little one, it's going to become part of the big blob. And what I've wanted to happen was the other shows to get bigger than the Okayest Hunter. The Okayest Hunter has been the flagship for about a year. It's finally gotten passed up by 3 other shows. So we're no longer the biggest show on our own platform, which is like a big deal. That was the goal. Now I'm also incredibly competitive. So I'm like, you guys, even though we're on the same team and I want you to win, I'm also like, if it's a NASCAR team, I'm like, I still want first place, even though we're on the same team. Like, so it's a fun thing that's kind of emerged. So growth has been interesting there, because growth for Okayest Hunter, it was a grind. It took a lot of time and effort, and we showed up every single week for 5 years without missing a break. And we go live, and we try to exploit all the different social tools that we can use, and platforms and content modalities and email lists. And we're putting, going forward, when we get into this next hunt season, every one of our merchandise orders is going to have a little postcard in it to go listen to the podcast and make sure people know that that's a thing. And it's just everything should be working together and pointing to everything. It's like octopus tentacles. It should all be working together in some way, shape, or form. And not every person that buys a hat's going to listen to the podcast, but if we get a percentage of them, we had thousands of orders go out last year. That'll be a couple hundred more listeners on the show. That all adds up, and it all works together, because on the media side, if I'm talking to a big brand and that marketing manager or CMO happens to see 20 Okayest Hunter hats and shirts at a trade show they were at, it's validating that like we matter in the marketplace.
Yes. Social proof, yeah.
And it's real life social proof through merchandise. And then conversely, the people that like buy the merchandise see it's just this thing. It just works together really well. So it's kind of neat to see when you try to do something for a long play for the right reasons, not shortcutting things. It's starting to come to the fruition and the vision that we had earlier on. So this is one of those things where, am I telling the right story? I am. Now, how intentional were we about it? We decided we were going to build a network. We said, let's just do 1 or 2 shows and see what happens. We did that, and people reached out on their own. We didn't then we decided to get a little strategic. Like, well, let's get one in this category. So if we get another one here, we're going to have to say no to that one. But if someone comes knocking and they want to do a show about this, or we can convince them to, then let's do it. If we can't, we got to keep moving on. But we didn't chase anybody down. We didn't try to recruit somebody or pull them away from somewhere else. It just kind of all happened, which told us that we had product-led growth, which meant we had a good product. And for that reason, the growth is genuine. We didn't, it's like meaty. It's like having, if you're, I don't want to say diet, but if you're trying to bulk up, you can hit your calorie goal for your caloric intake to hit your protein and your macros. But you probably shouldn't do it by just going to Taco Bell. You should probably have some clean protein. And I think the way that we've done it is we've had all clean protein. We've had our fiber and our veggies and our proteins. Like we did it the right way. And I think that has a stronger foundation.
More durable, lasting growth. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, again, I came out of the paid advertising space. That's all I did in my career. And it's, I think it's a really important skill set to understand and tool in the toolbox, but it can be a crutch. And, if all your growth can only come from paid, like something's up. Like, is your product not good enough to have word of mouth? Like why is paid the only way to grow the business? So again, good
it's a
tool.
way to scale. Like at some point you should probably
Right.
be able to scale because you got to reach new people. But yeah, if the product isn't there, like Nike used to be called what are they called? Blue Ribbon Sports. Like if they didn't have a good product, the Nike name wouldn't mean anything. Like they had they had a good product for it to work.
I'm curious what you think is next, kind of let's just talk about the hunt space. You work with products, but you're also in content. A lot of my friends are all running kind of like digital outdoor tech companies. So whether it's mapping or e-com or whatever, I think that there's going to be a big opportunity to kind of stitch some of these things together and have like a really great customer experience around the digital side of things. But any kind of perspective on that? I don't know how much of it you've touched other than being a founder yourself, but
Yeah, are you asking like, how are people going to get content or create content? What should they be creating?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm wondering, what does customer acquisition look like? Because again, for us, it's been a very different thing. Like, we don't have a thing, I don't have a manufactured good that I can send you or that you can buy and I can convert and I see the conversion. Like, it's just a lot more difficult when you're dealing with digital products, especially stuff like marketplaces where it's not I see, I click, I buy type of thing. So, I mean, do you think that the digital hunt space from a product's perspective, I mean, you look at guys like Onyx who've deployed tens of millions of dollars of capital into acquisition marketing, which is a little bit easier product because it is it's a subscription
got a
app, right?
utilitarian kind of deal.
Yeah, and from a conversion base, it's just like any other consumer app with a subscription, right? So you can run those kind of like those things against it. But we've talked about hunting being a more difficult thing to advertise online, although maybe it's loosening because there's a bit of a vibe shift with the new administration. I don't know. Do you think it's going to get easier or harder to acquire hunters onto your platforms over the next couple of years? Maybe that's the most succinct way to put it.
I think things ebb and flow and pendulum swing. And I think it's just going to continue to morph. And I would like to challenge people to be thinking about the LLMs because there's going to be a play there as that accelerates at a rate it goes back to Moore's law. Like the rate of change is now faster than our ability to adopt. That has been a long time coming and it's here now. It's now happening faster than we can consume it. So that's challenging, though. We'll be able to use that tool to help get those answers at some point. What that looks like, hard to know. I'm actually really excited about it as a marketer and a business person. I kind of can't wait to see where it's going to go. And I hope that I can find a way to plug in before it gets too hard or too big or like loses its momentum or whatever. No, I like, there's still so many old things out there. Like radio never went away. Newspaper, that one probably did. But magazines, they're coming back. I mean, print's not dead because like everything has you print on the packaging that goes out and like every grocery store.
Field Ethos has built a great business doing print magazines.
Yeah,
right?
Field and Stream went back to it. Field Ethos I just saw another Southlands magazine launch. I know they're not all called magazines; they're all called journals because it's a fancier term or something or whatever. But
it's more highbrow. Yeah,
that's all. Like I have half a mind to create a magazine for Okayest Hunter, and I certainly would call it a magazine because I just know that it's not beneath us. And so,
so you can go back to print as a customer acquisition vehicle. So yeah.
And that's hard to a degree, but like there's the awareness, the consideration, and the acquisition, like you had mentioned. If you could be everywhere, you would. And it's just we don't have that kind of budget. It's very limited, and so you have to be very thoughtful where you put those dollars, so you have at least a return that you can measure, so you know if it's working or not. But you also have to have some like overarching things, so you don't run out of oxygen in the room because conversions will dry up. So I don't know. Like it's all there. It just radio might get really, really cheap again because it's a forgotten platform, or print might get really, really cheap again, or digital might get really, really cheap again. TV, like streaming TV is becoming a really lucrative place to put ads, and it's measurable because it's streaming TV. So you can go join Tatari.com and you can place an ad on Hulu. That might actually work for your brand. It probably won't work for most because like a lot of these larger streaming platforms don't let hunting content in. Like they have some pretty good rules. So
Yeah.
again, hunting is a little bit stuck, but then there's also the experiential stuff. Like hunters are pretty proud folks. They tend to live in like close proximity to one another. So if there's an event like a consumer trade show, every hunter in that region is going to be there. Like,
Yeah.
like it's so niche. Like we band together. I throw an archery event every at the end of the summer called Foam Fest for Okayest Hunter. We've grown it, and it's not a big thing. And I don't know that I want it to be. We went from 20 to 40 to 60. We'll probably have 80 this year if we keep growing by that stretch. Now it's not 100 people. Back to that influencer that only had 2,000 followers that crushed more than Field and Stream. It's like you just need the right people in the room.
That's right. Yeah.
And and someone that cares enough to be thoughtful and put something good out. So the Dan and Sam folks, so they did some posts about Wonderly. It's like the bougie Airbnb. It's like a 5-star Airbnb where like
I don't have enough money to know about stuff like that. I'm just
it's
a
something
broke
with
founder,
with
dude.
Wonder. I've never heard of it until I saw them posting about it, oddly enough. So go figure. There's the awareness piece. Now we're talking about it. But Sam, the wife, had posted like 8 story posts of like just touring the property, the bathroom, the master room, the beach, the this, the that. And it's like a mansion. It's like you get the Airbnb plus all the robes that the hotel would give you. You don't get like someone else's stuff. You get like stuff from like a
Nice.
Hilton. So it's a really curated experience. But their like thesis was if you just enter your email in, you will be drawn to potentially win one of these trips. And I was like, look, all I got to do is put my email on a landing page, and that's all. There's nothing else to it. There's no hook. There's no follow 10 people, tag 8. It's none of that shit. It was just put your email in. And I was like, okay, well, I don't check that damn spam account email anyways too often. If I win, I'll figure it out and meet. And they did such a good job. But it was like the 6th story out of 8 that I finally did it because I was like, fuck it. Like, so it
Interesting.
took like
Yes.
a few touch points.
It took a few. Yeah, it took a few. The frequency had to be a little bit higher.
Yeah. And it worked. So I don't know, like the whole, we don't have a lot of video stuff. Obviously, you're not going to go walk your landowners' properties all the time, but I imagine some of the time, or they might have stuff like, how could you activate your landowners to a certain degree to like, certain Uber drivers are better than others. They might have mints and water and like all these accoutrements. You can pick your music, blah, 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 blah. Like those ones are going to get a better rating and review because they've provided a better experience. I might actually hail that Uber driver if I can again, because I liked Mohammed was the man in Vegas. Like I'm going to go with him because he knew all the spots to hit and he took good care of us. Like how can some of these people go above and beyond and like the realtors market themselves a little bit? And can you latch onto that? Because if Shore West had an all-star marketer, they're probably going to use him a little bit, and he's probably going to be okay with that because it's a scratching of each other's backs that's going on. I'm off on like a total like random tangent here. I just like to pay attention to the whole kind of thing and figure out where can I get the most bang for my buck. And
this is how the brains of good marketers work. Honestly, it's not like, okay, run a display Facebook campaign. That's, you have to think about all these other touch points.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do, So, and I know a lot of the other brands and especially startups, because we don't have capital. We have no capital and no time to do things, right? It's time and money. Where big brands are like, we got all the time, we got all the money. And it's just a different ball game that we're playing. So how can we be scrappy? How can we, spread the word about what we do and that people actually use it and people actually like it, and maybe you would too. It's like the classic marketing thing, right? So
you just gotta get kill a trophy deer on a private property and get featured in some like Hall of Fame, and like that'll be a big windfall right out of there.
There you go. Yeah. So
that'll be good PR.
Cool.
You don't want negative PR. You don't want someone to do it illegally or something weird. But
no poaching. So, anyways, man, I appreciate the time and the knowledge. Like I said, you're an interesting person because you sat on a few different sides of the industry, and you get to work with a lot of different brands too. Obviously, working in an agency, so that's always interesting perspective to hear. tell people where they should follow you and some of the stuff you're doing with Okayest Hunter or wherever else, and we can also put
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. For those
links.
that are interested, if you want any business content from me, LinkedIn's probably the best place. Eric Clark, you should be able to find me there. And then Okayest Hunter is okayesthunter.com. And that's pretty much it. Stay tuned for Outland. Who knows when that'll launch? I'm not giving up hope, but it's like, holy cow. And that's pretty much it. Like, you can check out Gunpowder's website and see the work that we do there as well. Follow along if you'd like. There's always some fun stuff coming out of that shop. That's pretty much it.
Sweet, man. Well, appreciate it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next conversation we have. These are going to be fun too, especially with the AI, as we talked about. Like, there's going to be something completely new to talk about in probably 3 months with all the things that are going to be happening in the market and marketing. So appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, you bet.
I want to give a big thanks again to Eric Clark for joining us today. This has been another episode of Outside's Insider Series, part of our Land Trust podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation today, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and check out Okayest Hunter and the work Eric is doing at Gunpowder PR. Until next time, keep exploring, keep building, and stay connected to the land.